Welcome to Get to Know the Speaker of DIGITALCONFEX. Today, we have with us Saurabh Jha, who is Senior Vice President and Global Head for Data and Analytics at Tech Mahindra. He will be speaking on the topic Navigating Data Privacy Regulations, Strategies for Compliance during the Information and Technology Confex at Le Meridian in New Delhi on 22nd September 2023. Hi Saurabh, welcome to the chat show.
Yeah, hi Ayush. Thank you so much for having me here.
It was our pleasure to have you on this chat show, Saurabh. So please give us a brief introduction of yourself and your field of expertise for the audience.
Sure, Ayush. So I'm Saurabh Jha, and I head the data and analytics practice for Tech Mahindra globally. And yeah, so my areas of expertise include everything around digital data analytics, AI, cloud, and so on and so forth. I also come, with a background in business strategy and management consulting from a Big Four. So in that way, I have a fairly wholesome view in terms of the business as well as the technologies that enable it.
So Saurabh, how excited are you for this event?
Oh, very excited, and I think the topics that have been included as a part of the event are very relevant today. And the topic that I'll be talking about, which is navigating data privacy laws, I think that's very, very urgent topic. Not only because it is important, but for individual businesses, if they are not able to do it, then there are a lot of fines that they need to pay. And so even if not out of the goodness of their heart, they should do it, purely from looking at their bottom line perspective.
So moving forward, I have few questions for you today. So my first question is, tell us about your journey.
All right, so my journey primarily, I'm an engineer and I'm an MBA from IIM Bangalore. I started working primarily first with IT companies. My journey started with Infosys, and then I moved on to another IT company where I spent almost 6 years, across the world, primarily in the US, UK, and Europe. And post which I moved my career a bit. I went into consulting for one of the Big Fours. I was there for about 7 years, and post which I worked with a product company, a tech product company, and now I'm with TechM, where I lead data and analytics. Now, across this journey, like I mentioned previously, so I have a very good exposure to technologies and how they have evolved over the last 20 years, as well as a very good exposure to the business side of things. Whether it's business strategy, business process, and so on, because of my experience with the Big Four. So, all in all, that has been my journey so far, Ayush.
It was exciting knowing about your journey as of now. So tell us some about data privacy laws.
Hmm. So see, let us look at, why have these laws even come into the picture? The primary reason is that over the last 10, 15 years, there has been an explosion of avenues where people get exposed to. And when we are talking about that, we are talking about customers primarily, right? So, whether it is social media on one hand, where people go and share their data by themselves, and not only on social media, even in certain other areas like banking, insurance, where they share their data by themselves. On the other side, companies who want to increase their customer base, customer acquisition, they want to collate data. So then we are looking at not only the data that is being voluntarily shared by our customers, they are also looking at collecting data that is not being voluntarily shared, and which is, by the means of cookies, IP address mapping, and so on and so forth. And all of this, of course, is typically designed towards some kind of business outcome. That's one part of it. Of course, there is, whole different area around data theft and identity theft, but let's keep that aside for the time being. But if you look at a typical corporation, especially a B2C corporation, or even a B2B for that matter, for them, this data is an asset. It's a huge asset which they can use to increase their customer base. Right now, like I said, some of this data comes in voluntarily, some of it comes in involuntarily, where they go and collect. And you'll be surprised to know that that ratio is 1:10, which is, if 10% of data is being voluntarily shared by people, There is 90% which is being collected without them actually even knowing that the data is going in. So all of these things have brought a lot of debate. I mean, there's a lot of debate in the society about whether organizations are able to protect their users' data, whether they are able to protect their users' identity, whether they are using the data properly only for the purposes for which they mean to use it, and so on and so forth. And nobody is taking undue advantage of this data. So these areas have suddenly become very important, and which is why there have been malpractices in the past, and not every organization is a do-gooder. So governments have to step in, right, in the with the reason of larger public good, which is why these regulations are now in picture. And of course, all there are some popular ones which all of us know about, like GDPR, CCPA, and so on. But that is just the starting, right? It was some 5 6 years ago when it first came into the picture. Today, a lot of the nations or a lot of the countries are in the process of developing their own GDPR equivalent privacy laws. And not only at a national level, in some countries, even at a state level, they are being developed. For example, the US, right, where CCPA is actually the state privacy law for California. So that's how data privacy laws have come into the picture.
So as you told us about privacy laws and their regulation, so also tell us some strategies that company use to stay ahead of these data privacy regulations.
So see, well, it's not one single strategy. There are multiple steps to this strategy, right? And of course, I'll be talking about it during my talk at the conference. But just to give a very, very high level overview, it all starts with the first step is business intention, right? Where the business has to question itself as to why do I need this data in the first place? And if you don't collect it. That's the first step. Second step is, let's say you have collected the data. Where all in the organization is the data flowing, for example? Who owns that data? Who has the rights, or who has the access rights to that data, and so on? What are the consumer rights in this entire ecosystem? So for example, if as a customer, if I go and tell my bank that I want all my data to be deleted except for these two three things, is the bank in a position to be able to fulfill it? Do they have the technology in place to ensure that across their hundreds of systems all my data will be purged? So there are multiple things that are required to be in place to stay ahead of these data privacy laws. And we will be looking at a 7 8 step process when I talk about it during the conference, as to how to stay ahead.
So my last question for today is what you like to do in your free time, or basically what are your hobbies?
So yeah, I mean, nothing extraordinary. I like to, of course, I like to travel. I like to watch Netflix, like I think whole of the world. And I do some hobby coding as well during my free time. So primarily around AI and machine learning, I like to code. So yeah, these are a few things that I like to do.
Thanks, Saurabh. It was great connecting with you, and I am thrilled with your excitement to join our conference. So, any words for
Thank
our
you, Ayush.
participants that will be joining this conference?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ayush. Thanks for having me. Thanks again.
Thank you, Saurabh.
Thank you.